today we're going to start with our special guest, Dianita. She's going to give us some important information about the master. So we're going to be, yes, in the first hour, and then around 9:30, we want to start our roundtable with our speaker, so we can actually talk a little bit more about some of the questions that you asked yesterday and other topics that will be of our interest, especially because we need to share our experiences during the pandemic, and I think this is the best scenario. So, Dianita, welcome. And everyone, how are you doing? How's everyone doing? Good morning.
Great.
Good morning, sir.
I see that I'm going to, how do we do this? Because we have several either students or former students, and the idea is that we discuss some of the things that we do at the university. So that you get like a wider understanding of the ELT field, the field of English language teaching. And I see that we have like professors, like Professor Peñafort is there, and so is Professor Segura. We have students, we have alumni like Nicholas, and we have, I saw that there is Silvia Juliana too, and Jenny, who's a student, and I don't recognize all the names, but some of the names. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to invite you. So the idea is that we learn something today, not just how to sign up for a master's program, which is something that I would really like, but that we take something home. Some of the things that we've discussed throughout the master's program, and with the new, with this new reality that we have, where we have connections and internet, and we need to teach remotely, is that it is important for students to be able to interact. So we used to have our master's program, and it used to be face-to-face on campus. We would go there on Fridays and Saturdays, meet, drink coffee, have a good time. And then pandemic hit, and then we couldn't go for coffee, but we started having our coffees at home together anyways. And we could cooperate, and we could work together, and students could interact, and we could build groups with friends, just in very similar ways as we do when we are at the university. And this has been possible because we've incorporated, ICT tools. And I'm going to show you, and I'm going to let you take in part in the whole thing. I'm going to start sharing my screen, and then I'll decide what the mechanics are. But this is going to take a little while for some people because not everyone knows how to use. I'm going to invite you to this platform. It's called Miro. Miro is an application. I want everyone to be able to edit. And I'm going to invite you to this app. It's called Miro. You click on your computer, miro.com. And I'm going to send you to the chat the link to this specific board. All you have to do is click on the board. You don't need to sign up. All you need to do is connect. And in this board, what we have organized for you, Johnny and I, he keeps saying me, but we did it together, is that we have some things that we would like for you to work on and with us, and they have to do with the Masters in Teaching English as a Foreign Language. We've selected 3 topics. One is the use of ICT tools in education. This is super important. Information and communication technologies to be able to communicate and interact and learn in virtual mode, in distant mode. Alexandra Barragan is saying that she uses it. At Icesi, we have it's not just for Icesi, no? There is a Miro launched, I saw someone getting here, Miro launched an educational like agreement during the pandemic. And so you can, with your teacher ID, your carnet de profesor, whatever. If you upload it, then they will give you free boards and you don't have to pay, and it'll give you full capacity. So my recommendation, my invitation would go to come and share. Click on the link. I don't see you guys. I know that some of our students are there. And I would like for you to be able to come. So we chose 3 topics. One is the use of ICTs in education. The other one has to do with collaboration, cooperation, and interaction. I think one of the things that was lost between students was the opportunity to cooperate, to collaborate, to interact. I felt it at home with my daughters. My daughters, their school started, they had virtual classes on Zoom from 7:30 in the morning till 2:30 in the afternoon. And when I asked my daughters for, hi, how is Camila? Teacher, Miro account for teachers, it's great. Yes, Oscar. What happened with your friend Camila from last year? She's like, I don't know, Mama, she hasn't come back to school. What do you mean she hasn't come back to school? Es que ya no está en mi sala de su mamá, so I don't know. So they didn't know where their friends were. They didn't know why they weren't coming. They had, because younger kids have no ways of communicating with their friends because they don't have WhatsApps and telephones and cell phones. My older daughter, who's going to be 12, she has a cell phone. And she texted all her friends. They had WhatsApp groups and they talked all the time. So she knew exactly where they were. But the little one, she didn't. And what I saw was that many people, it says request, wait, I'm getting emails saying that you are, everyone can edit. Everyone with the link can edit. No, bruta, I'm sorry. Yeah, click again because I just changed the settings. It says I don't have permission to use the board. I know my phone is informing me.
It is working now.
It is working now. Yes, I didn't give permissions for people to edit. You saw me. You should have said, Anita, permissions to edit, especially people who have worked on it. So I think these kinds of boards are important because they allow us to cooperate, to work together, and they also allow us to do many things, watch video, post pictures, so you can use them for many things. So collaboration, cooperation, and interaction is something that I believe was lost, or that for the first, at least for the first few weeks in the pandemic, we were like, where are people? And I think this is something that we've managed to rescue and to promote even in virtual modalities. And so this is something that I want to talk about. Over here, I put already some definitions, but we have some questions, and what we want is for people to be able to discuss and participate, start playing with the, I'm going to open a space over here. Look, on this, this app, if you scroll up and down, you can make it bigger, you can make it smaller. And on this left side menu, you see that this is where you participate. On the left side, where is the little arrow and a template and a box and the line, you can add Post-it notes. So what you do is you choose the color and you add the Post-it note, and the Post-it note, you can put text on it. So start logging in and start playing with the whole thing. So that we can start interacting and participating. Part of what I'm saying is that we need to cooperate and to work together. So this is one tool. There are many others, and I will show you in a second, like to what extent tools can use. And the other thing has to do with English language teaching and some of the issues that we do in terms of curricular design, in terms of sociocultural awareness, and over here, the classes. I mean, some of the things that we already do. So come to the middle. I see Jimmy Cerquera, Alejandra Marín, Johnny Hernandez, Silvia Juliana. People aren't asking anything in the chat. I don't know if you guys have any questions. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen so that I can see you.
No questions. I'm here. I'm gonna be checking the questions.
Yes, no, but I want it for people to be able to connect and to log into the middle. So I'm just waiting. Come on, you guys. There's only,
36. Good morning. As you come,
oh,
welcome.
but on Miro, there's 10 people. There are
Okay.
10 people. I keep saying there is, I don't know why, but I hear, I was talking to Carolina Rodriguez the other day. Because her
Yeah.
English is so beautiful. And I said also Martha's English. And she said, well, Martha's an American. It's like, but you're not an American and your English is beautiful. I want my English to be like yours. And I need to try harder. Let me see, are people joining? Come on. Getting to
You
Miro,
guys-
it's a super nice app. If you're on the phone, you can use it on the phone as well. It's not heavy, you use it online. It allows for people to cooperate, participate. You can upload videos, you can upload files, you can upload audios. People can work together. So people already started answering, very nice. I'm gonna go here. So the first, whoosh, look at that list. The first question that we want to ask you and that we want to discuss, and that the idea is that we'll build on it together. Maybe we can get ideas from what other teachers are doing is what ICT tools have you used for teaching? I mean, and in this pandemic now there are so many tools. So try and put a post-it note so that we can read. Look, there are 2 people have posted, Jimmy and I don't know, someone visiting who didn't sign up. Feel free to include as many.
Good.
What is the difference, for example, between Miro and Genially?
Okay, very good, Andreita. So Genially is to produce material. Genially has, let's open up Genially as well. Genially is used for creating interactive content. So with Genially, what you do is this probably logs in automatically. So with Genially, what you do is you create PowerPoint presentations, you can create videos, you can create games. They have like a hello Jimena, Grace, hello. When you want to create a new Genially, it gives you the opportunity to create gamification. You can create, for example, board games, infographics, presentations, video presentations, guides. It has everything. And so what you do is it shows you templates that you can choose from to create. And they are super nice and beautiful. Like this is what I use sometimes when I have no ideas. Genially for me has one problem, and it is that it won't allow for 2 people to participate at the same time. It's not like Miro that, we have 12 people on Miro working all together and answering questions and designing. Genially doesn't allow for that. There is another app that we use, or that I use, that is Canva, which I absolutely love. And Canva allows for several people to work at the same time. And I really like my students, for example, do things on Canva and they for example, this is a newspaper. This is one that we did together as a class with 7 students, with 6 students. And here, hold on. And so many people can connect at the same time. And they designed, this is one of our projects. So they wrote obituaries for members of their families, and I wrote the obituary for my grandma as well. So we had different sections, family quirks. Linita here. And it gives you the opportunity to put notes, make comments. They put videos. They had to prepare recipes and it had a food section. So you can include the video as well in Canva, on Canva. This was my video. And so thank
And
you,
what
Julio.
about Jamboard?
Jamboard is a similar board to this one, but Jamboard is more limited. Jamboard is Google, and that's a good thing because Google is super easy to use, and it comes in the G Suite. So, for example, for schools in Cali, you know how the Secretary of Education in Cali, they paid for all the public schools to have the Google Suite. Google offers the opportunity of connecting too, but Jamboard has the problem that it only allows for 50 people at a time. And so for example, this is something that I use in my classes. It's a board game. And so I gave instructions and they needed to write down. So they had the names. So it allows for people to put notes on it too. And participate and interact. This is from one of my classes. This is one of my students' classes. Because I am the teacher of, I teach in several programs. And so this allows for you to interact, but Jamboard only allows you to put notes, and text and pictures. It's less interactive than Miro, and it only allows for 25 people at the same time. Whereas Miro, pues Miro is better because it has more opportunities. For example, look at the list of you can always have access to this website so that you can take a look at the different, for example, look, Bubble, Canvas. We use Canvas at the university, but the one that I'm showing you is Canva with no S. Class Time, Comic, Concept Board, Core Rubrics, Kaggle, Common Sense Creative Cloud, Crossword Puzzle. For collaborative writing, I found an app this semester from one of my students for collaborative writing that was wonderful. For teaching, for children, Quizlet, quizzes, Wordwall, Pages platforms are great. Class Dojo works really well. It's an app for the phone, and it allows you to, give students points. It's very behavioralistic, but I guess it works. Booklab, Edmodo, Edpuzzle, Educaplay. Educaplay has a lot of possibilities, the same as Edpuzzle. Nearpod, Jamboard, Trendy, Socrative, like Kahoot, allows you to create quizzes, and it's really easy to use. I think it is less fun than Kahoot. Kahoot has the music that is all stressful and the competitive part, which is nice, and kids love it. But if you don't pay, you cannot get the whole list or the full, Excel with grades. So Socrative for free, you can get Socrative, and it allows for the same possibility. You have students answering questions at the same time all together, and you can download the answers for this one. Quizzes, Jamboard. I had said here, let me show you some of the things that we do, but these are some of the things that we do. On Miro, last semester, we had a really small group, and we did, we have kind of the whole class in one Miro. So these are some of the things that we discuss. If you take a look at this board, We have activities and activities and activities, and the board moves around, and students participated and put notes and underlined. So the whole class, I have had 2 groups of different programs where we have the whole class on Miro. Metacognition, learning strategies, problem solving, creativity. One of the authors of this, one of the participants in this class is here, at least. I don't know, I haven't checked if, because I saw Oscar who's here, and I don't know if Martha, I saw her yesterday. Any other apps that you use? I don't hear people. I want people to talk to me.
Those
Can
are
you-
the ones that I asked are the ones that I don't know really how to use.
This one is it takes a while for people to learn how to use it, but once you learn how to use it, it's really, really, really good. Out of the 38 participants that we have in the room, only 15 are connected to the Miro. Here, it also, this is very nice because you can look at the list of people and go to the Miro. I'm going to stop sharing my board so that you go to the Miro and see it from there.
Okay. Olga said that Padlet is another app.
Padlet is a good app too. Padlet has the problem of 3 boards on Padlet or pay, which bothers me. Padlet allows you to upload pictures and videos as well. Padlet can be very structured, and this is a good thing. Miro has the possibility of creating, they has templates as well. So if you have no creativity like me or no visual skills, it gives you the template, which is a good thing. These are some of the apps that we use. Can you download Excel files with grade from Miro? Miro doesn't allow for grades really, but Miro, you can have quizzes on Miro, but they don't give you grades. You can have a voting system. Miro is more for collaborative work than for it is for examining or for anything. To download Excel with grades for participation or for answering questions correctly, Socrative allows you to do that. Here they're talking live worksheet, Nearpod, Trendy,
I
Pear
haven't
Deck.
used Socrative, never.
You've never used Socrative? Socrative is really nice, and you can upload the quizzes. The quizzes can be worked on either a teacher paced, meaning that you show them the slides and they answer from their phone, or you can assign them for homework. And you say, okay, I'll give you I'll give you 1 day to do the quiz, and it has for open-ended questions, for multiple choice, for true, false, for different kinds of questions. It is also good for students to work in class, decide which is the correct answer, A or B. A, why? Because of this. No, B, because of this. Talk to your classmate, discuss why is it wrong or right, which is something that I believe is important. I'm going to continue sharing my screen because you are recording, and so people who are watching the
And
video from
also,
outside. Yes?
Silvia Juliana shared a link, but I don't know.
Where'd you put it, Juli?
No, I'm sharing the same link for Miro for the ones that are just connecting.
Yeah, thank you, Juli.
Thank you, Juli.
There is and this is something that I wanted to show you. There are several models for integrating technology to education. This one that I have on the first, I organized the Miro in three columns. On the first column, that is called the Samar Model by Rubén Puente Dura. that one. This is just an image, but it's what Puente Dura says is that what we do when we incorporate technology is there are several levels of incorporating technology. So the first level, which is substitution, is that you only use technology as a direct substitute with no functional change. For example, when we first started the pandemic, people started meeting through Meet. I think most people used Meet or Zoom, the institutions who had it. And the first thing was, instead of having people in the classroom, you had people in the Zoom or on Meet. And what you did is you substituted. You just changed present face-to-face interaction to virtual interaction through the screen, and that was it. Most people didn't do much with it. It was just the teacher is on the screen speaking. The students are at home listening, the same thing that happened in the class. So the first level is substitution. The second level has to do with augmentation. When you say, okay, it is a substitute, but there is functional improvement. So for example, I have to say that I love Zoom, but I think Meet started. You can get plugins for your Chrome and have breakout rooms. They take attendance. You can have shared files. I mean, the G Suite works wonders. I am amazed of how much it has improved. And so you started saying, pero podemos hacer trabajo en grupo. Wait, I'm going to send you to breakout rooms. So the kids would go and work together in groups. And so you started not just substituting, but augmenting, like making it bigger, making it better. There is a functional improvement. This activity, for example, that we're doing today, this could have been done with Post-it notes. At the university, we have boards. People can come to the board, write, put on Post-it notes. I mean, it has some augmentation because you cannot include videos on the board at the university. You cannot include pictures at the board at the university, but at least like this one that you guys made up here, this is something that we could have done easily at the university with Post-it notes. I keep Post-it notes on my pencil case and markers, and we could have done that easily. But including videos and including pictures and including other sorts of resources, that was more than mere substitution. Look that the Miro board even has the squares from the board. So instead of using the board at the classroom, we use the board on Miro. You can use it for substitution. Yo escribo y ustedes toman apuntes. Or we can do it with augmentation, include videos and other things. Then what you can do, yes.
No, that there's a message that if you want to speak, your microphones are on, so feel free to participate.
Yes. For hybrid classes, for example, this works really well because you have kids who can participate while at home. This has a function. It all means que se voló, ¿no? Que no están participando. So for example, you can design, I'm going to find someone who Oscar Javier Sanchez, Osquitar, I'm going to follow you. So if I click on him, it'll take me to whatever he's seeing. Look, aquí está la pantalla, that's Oscar. So with this, I can follow. Idle means that they're not there, but I can follow, for example, the students. This is where Johnny Hernandez is, what he's seeing. So I los persigo para saber quién está haciendo qué, where are they, what are they participating. So this is a good way of letting students, for example, what I do is I assign group work and they are working there. Instead of me going to different breakout rooms, I'm checking from here that they're working, that they're doing their stuff. And if I see that they wrote something that they shouldn't have written or that they are, so I go to the breakout room. The second level so the first level is enhancement. Technology helps you make your class better, yes? But then the base level has to do with transformation. Technology can help you transform your classes. And I think for many of the things that we do at the university and that we do in the master's program, probably some are here, but many of them are here too in modification and redefinition. So you can modify the task significantly and change it in ways that you couldn't have done before. So for example, doing this newspaper with the students, where this is an interactive newspaper, where you can click, watch a video, write the recipe, leave an audio, make comments, help each other correct. It is something that you cannot do on paper, that if you have it in class and you're doing it on paper, it doesn't work the same. Yes. So this is something that I'm going to show you one of the videos.
We're going to prepare rice pudding. For this recipe, you only need approximately 40 minutes.
So this is something that we couldn't have done without technology, that it was impossible for us to do. You can do a cooking class and prepare something, but they prepared different recipes, and this is something that would have been impossible otherwise.
Okay, hello, this is my video.
So this is a task that was redefined, not only modified, but redefined. So the two lower levels have to do with modification, and then with redefinition, you create new tasks that were previously unconceivable. So doing a newspaper was possible, but doing a newspaper that includes the audio, the video, where we all work together at the same time, but this is something that wasn't possible before, that we couldn't have done before. So some of the things yesterday, Marcus was saying that we need to train teachers not only in the discipline, which is something that we do at the master's program in teaching English. Students learn about linguistics, and they learn about sociolinguistics, and they learn how to teach grammar, how to teach phonetics. They learn how to teach reading and writing and speaking and listening. They learn how to design materials. But part of the things that we're trying to show them is how to use technology so that they can become better teachers, because we won't be able to teach without technology, you know, for many more years. I know that there are some areas where technology, where we don't have access, where we don't have internet. I mean, we have students who are in rural areas, and we know exactly that they don't have access. But anyways, this is something that we need to train teachers on how to use technology to teach, because this is part of the demands of, he was saying, the 21st century. He was saying the second half of the 21st century, because the 21st century, first ideas of the 21st century already happened. So that's the first thing. I don't know if there are any questions regarding the use of ICTs for teaching. You guys open up your microphones and talk to me, because I'm starting to feel lonely.
No questions at all. Not for me, at least.
And the rest?
No, thank you. I have no questions so far.
Okay.
They are shy.
More than a question, I think that the Miro is a great platform. And just like we said in Spanish, in pañales, trying to start using it. But I'm just learning. I'm the process of learning.
But in your case, Susan, that you're an Icesi teacher and a Javeriana teacher, you can get your educational, crear un grupo educativo, educational access. So that you can actually use it. For all of you who are teachers, you can get an educational access.
And that's a great information. Thank you. Thank you.
So that, because otherwise it'll give you 3 boards and you don't do anything with 3 boards. You need more than 3 boards. The other thing that I believe is important in this post-pandemic era has to do with interaction. As I was saying before, part of the things that I believe were the things that we miss the most from coming to the university or going to school is seeing our friends, talking to them, working together. And this is something that has taken a while for teachers to start understanding. And I think when I was listening to Marcus yesterday, and he kept saying that that they videoed, that they recorded the classes and that students were watching them at home and that they were participating. One of my questions in the chat was, okay, but you can watch, I mean, I can watch Alejo Lopera. I don't know if you follow Alejo Lopera. Alejo Lopera is a Bogotano that makes videos, grammar videos, and he's actually good. And students, I always give them a video in English and video in Spanish for grammar issues. And they love Alejo Lopera because his examples are, he's just fun. But that doesn't mean just watching a video doesn't mean that I can develop communicative competence. I need to be able to interact. And what he said, they put a tablet in every table so that students can interact with the student who's at home. I think this has taken a while for teachers to start understanding how is it that technology can help us cooperate? Because at the beginning was like in the Zoom, all squares and all together and everyone on the same class. And on Zoom, you cannot participate. I mean, not everyone can participate at the same time. You need to be able to have smaller spaces like you do in the classroom. If the teacher is standing at the front, the students are sitting there and there's only one person speaking at a time. Students need to be able to work together and interact. And so I think this is what has taken a little bit of time. It's taken a little bit of time for teachers to understand how to promote cooperation and collaboration and interaction using technology. And this is something that can be done, that it is possible. I see my students are friends, even if they've never met. We have had now promotions of students graduating in pandemics. I direct 2 virtual programs of students who never come to university. And the day that we meet, we always have a cena de graduandos before graduation. And on the cena de graduandos, we were like, ahí viene Oscar, ¿ese es Oscar? No, ese no es Oscar, está muy mechudo para ser Oscar. Like, we didn't know each other, we'd never met because we've been virtual, but we were friends and we hugged each other like we knew each other. So this is because technology can allow for us to do that. I put a couple comments. Well, we have a question here. Have you collaborated and worked with others in pandemic? Why don't you post Post-it notes to share your ideas? You can send them to the chat as well.
And Anita, that one, I mean, I can make a comment is, for example, the experience that we had here at Icesi, at the department, is that we always wanted to, I mean, like encourage teachers to co-plan, I mean, to work together in their lesson plans. And we studied that before the pandemic, but I believe as yesterday, as Marcus mentioned yesterday, that it was an accelerator to get teachers working together in order to survive this hard time. Because I mean, that was the only way to really do it. Because I mean, if we had been on our own, we wouldn't have been able to do really, I mean, make changes in our courses. So I think one of the great lessons, I mean, in outcomes of the whole thing is that we were able to find ways to work with others, because we always have excuses. We don't have time, we cannot do this. But I think we discovered that by doing that with others, we not only learn, we save time. In fact, when you plan, when you think together, when you actually design things together, you can get better results. And actually you can tell in the consolidation of the projects that we have at the department that it shows that there was great, I mean, a lot of effort, and teachers really spend time figuring, I mean, finding out how to teach in these scenarios. So I think not only students, but teachers were able to really support each other, help, which is really interesting. It was really important to really face what we were actually living at that moment.
In here, I put a picture of the difference between cooperation and collaboration, because people tend to think, oh, cooperative work, collaborative work is the same, and it's not the same. And I put I use some of the things that we discuss in class. I teach one of the classes in the master's program in psycholinguistics, and one of the topics that we cover has to do with interaction and cooperation. And so these are some of the slides just for you to have them and check them. But I also put at the bottom something that I think it's important in terms of promoting cooperation and collaboration and interaction has to do with allowing students to know each other. It has to do with setting cooperative goals instead of competitive goals. Set goals for the whole group or for the whole class or for specific groups so that they can work together instead of saying el mejor que me lo traiga de primero saca 5 puntos. No, the best group so that they can cooperate in groups and maybe compete with other groups, but still work together. Give students the opportunity to work in groups using Zoom or WhatsApp. Dividing the breakout rooms are a fantastic tool. And Meet, that is free, has breakout rooms that you can use. And now all of the applications, Teams has breakout rooms as well. Let students help each other. Hi, teacher, I don't know the answer for this quiz. Okay, go ask your friend, he knows. Don't tell him the answer, but discuss the question so that they can go and discuss the question for a quiz, for an activity, for anything. Design activities where students talk about themselves. And this is something that I'm going to ask you in a second to do. Zoom, unfortunately, is not like WhatsApp where you can send pictures. Here you can only send text. But I want you guys to go to you're in your computers, most of you, or on your phones. So go your Galeria Photos, go to your Facebook and download one picture of you and your family. In our class, we did this semester. I'm going to share with you. Hold on one second. I'm going to share with you what we did. I don't know if my students from this semester are here. They aren't because they're in class with Juan Manuel. They had class today. But I'm going to, I take the long turn for this, but I'm going to show you something that we did that helped us cooperate and work together and understand each other. And I'm going to share it here on the I'm going to show you what we did and how when I say let students work together and cooperate and give information about each other. This is the first day of class. This is what we did in one, and I also use other cooperative tools like PowerPoint Online from Icesi's website or Google Slides. We've also used those ones. So I asked the students to put a picture. This is what I want you to do. I want you to go find a picture. These are my students from this semester. This bird was yesterday in class as well. And so what they did is they included pictures and descriptions of who they are so that we could get to know everyone in the class. And we decorated the whole thing. And this is how you know who your students are, where they come from, what they do. I do this in face-to-face interaction. I do this. This is mine. I do it for me too. I'm going to take this picture. I'm going to put it all over there. So these are ways where you can get, we have a student who's a DJ. See? So these are ways in which we can, here at the bottom, no, but I'm not on the video. Include a picture, find a picture of you and put it there and write a note about what the picture, what it represents and who you are so that we can get to know each other a little bit. If you cannot access the Miro, then you can tell us on the chat. The chat is always here. Por ahí some people saw their pictures, like Lisette. I also put a video in there that you can watch. All you need to do is click on the video and you will be able to see it from the Miro.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, Juancho.
I have your Miro with your family here, Diana. You're sharing your screen?
I know, I'm sharing my screen. We're doing
Ah,
an activity
okay.
of I'm gonna send again to the chat the link.
Sorry, my students are arriving right now, so.
Yeah, I know. But your students know how to do this because they've been my students. So.
Indeed.
Jimena is asking, I'd like for my students to find a pen pal. Ah, this is fantastic. There is a website. I'll send it to the link. I'm sharing my screen. There is a website that is called, no, but not this one.
Good morning, Professor Diana.
Hello, Victor.
Well, yesterday we had the COIL conference, and it was very good. I'll share the video, and it was and in there they had a lot of
yeah, but COIL requires a thesis, a complete thesis. But Jimena, on this website, epulse.com, you can find partners. So what you do is you select your settings over here, the student range, for example, 17 to 19, languages, English, average size class, subjects, interest, and what you do is you find people. This is how Carlos Quijano, who presented yesterday, has been English teacher.
Diana, can you explain again the activity in order that our students?
We are discussing, or I am talking, I don't know, because people are not really participating like actively, but we're discussing. Yeah, and yes, you are, Andreita, yes, you are. And some of the people are on the chat. We are discussing three. We have talked about two topics so far. One has to do with the use of technology to interact, the use of technology in education. So we were discussing some of the tools that we use at the master's program and that we use at the university and that teachers are using in the schools to teach, some ICT tools that they're using to teach. Now we're talking about the importance of cooperation and collaboration. So people have some of the ideas that, and I haven't read this, and it's good that you arrived. Some of the questions, some of the ways in which people have cooperated and collaborated and interacted with others in pandemic, admitting that there are many things that they don't know, but other people can do and help them by exploring new opportunities and giving a try to new ways of teaching, by being open to new ideas and constructive criticism. When the pandemic got into the classroom, I had already started checking and studying ICT tools. Someone was ahead. By the time we will all admit the situation, many teachers didn't know what to do, and I was able to create videos or training sessions in order to help them cope with what was happening. I've done it by talking to partners, listening to them to get ideas, and sharing the ones I know to improve classes and cope with students' difficulties. I designed an interactive collaborative simulation in Miro where students use their ESP in a very close reality environment from remote locations, working in teams, sharing ideas with colleagues, and using Paola's writing. Area planning without partners, face-to-face interaction. Sometimes we've done it, we've planned also online. Sharing with my colleagues some of the ideas that can be useful to improve courses. So I think working together, people have been working together. And I was showing some of the ways in which students can work together as well, not only teachers, but students. And I was inviting people so that we can get to know who they are, to put pictures and write a comment. And so over here, we're having, yay, who put this picture? This was from I was telling you that we have a dinner before graduation ceremony. So this was at the dinner with graduated, we'll graduate in February, we'll graduate in June. So we were all there together. How can I put the picture? Very good, Alejandra. So there are two ways of putting the picture. You open your Galería de Fotos and you copy and you paste, Control C, Control V, the same. Or if you have it saved on your computer, you can click here on the left side menu, there is an arrow, un cuadrito con una flechita that says upload. So you can upload the picture. It'll give you the option from my device. If you have a link in saved files or a web clipper, you can get it from what you need to install, Google Drive, Dropbox, OneDrive, if you don't have them. So either copy paste or either look in your computer and find a picture.
Perfect. And besides, we're now at 9:30, we're going to start the roundtable. We're going to share experiences. We have Team Mar, Fiona English, and Marcos and Dianita, and we're going to explain how this is going to work, which is going to take approximately an hour or something. So we need you to participate, and we'll let you know how it works. But I'll let Dianita go on.
So these are some of the ways in which we at the master's program have found that we can interact and deal with students, even if we're not there. I know we missed face-to-face classes, but I think it was manageable, and I believe learning took place, which is the most important thing. So on the third column, we put some things of some like slides of things that we discuss in the classes and that we talk. I also put the courses. I know that some of our students, I don't know, if you have questions about the master's program, you can always ask them in the chat. And I am counting on our students to help us explain what is it that we do. We have several professors here and we have also several students. So if you have any questions regarding the master's program, I'm sure if you just hit the question or open your microphone, the students can tell you of the experience that they have had. I mean, I'm here to explain, but we have the teachers, we have the students, so that you can ask. Some of the students who are actually studying this, Dr. Mar, hello. Oh, you know, and Dr. English is here. No, I hadn't seen you guys. I was looking at my needle. Doctor, this is one of the tools that I was telling you about. You should click and join Miro for today, please. Both doctors.
Click and join what? Sorry.
I'm going to send you a link.
Okay.
And you can click on it from your computer and take a look at an app that I love. I'm sharing.
Okay. And it's called what? Sorry?
Miro. Miro like
Miro.
John Miro.
Okay. Miro.
But it doesn't have an accent, so I never call it Miro. I always call it Miro.
No, if it was Miro, it would be the Spanish painter, wouldn't it?
Yeah. But it actually, I think the name is probably thought. It was probably chosen because of the Spanish painter, because this is a white canvas. It's a whiteboard, and it'll let you do anything.
It's a canvas. I get it.
So probably it should be Miro. Some people call it Miro, but since it doesn't have an accent, but it's probably in English. So Miro, Joan Miro, Miro.
Joan Miro.
Miro, that's my question. Because in Spanish it's John Miro, but I don't know in English what was it that they call it? What should I call him?
I call him Juan Miro.
Yeah, I would call him Juan Miro.
Yeah,
Juan Miro. But isn't it John Miro?
I think no, it's because he was Catalan, wasn't he? So I think it's Juan.
Bueno, we can always Google him up.
It would be Je if he was Portuguese.
Yeah,
Juan, I think.
But he was Catalan, definitely.
He was Catalan, yeah.
Yeah. I've had a look. I see.
Miro is
Sorry,
awesome.
sorry, I was musing upon the pronunciation of Spanish names. Right, yes. So I just click on it, right?
Yeah, click on the link that I sent through the Zoom chat.
On the chat, yeah, got it.
And it'll take you to the board. You don't need to sign up if you don't want to. And in here, what I've been showing them is that we can include pictures, videos, files, audios. People can collaborate and write at the same time. So at this moment, we have, how many people? We have 26 people connected to the same board.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they are all writing and they are all participating. And
that's great. It's actually a very useful tool for.
That's great. Yeah, it's busy, isn't it?
Yeah, that looks really good.
Yeah, it does.
So here we have some of the teachers, some of the students. People are posting pictures from graduation day.
Yeah, nice idea. Yeah.
No, it's really good.
And so part of maintaining interaction and cooperation throughout, pandemic and beyond, because this is something you can continue to use even after we've come back to university, or we've come back to campus. I'm sorry, I keep saying the university, but not everyone works at university level. Even when we go back to campus, that we can continue to use and build together, and the board will stay. So the next class we can still connect to the board and we will not lose our work from the day. Or collect the post-it notes and put them on a stack and then bring them out so you can have them. And it's really easy to use. It allows you you can put comments, give feedback. So these are some of the things that we do at the master's program that keep us engaged and keep us participating and keep us together, even if we're far apart. Kilometers apart.
But also useful for seminars and discussions. So
of course,
you could have students, having read an article and they put their own interpretation, like the main argument on the post-it notes, and then they can have a discussion at how differently each read it and so on. That'd be good.
You can even. No, but I'm not. You can even post an article in there. Post a document.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it is, and of course, it would be perfectly good for use in a hybrid classroom of the kind that we
hybrid, exactly.
Yesterday. You could have half the people in the room and half the people in a different country, and it would still work absolutely perfectly.
Exactly. And you can work synchronically or asynchronically, so people can connect. Like you can get back to the board later and leave notes. This is what you decided. This group talked about this, or make comments, and then they can come back. It also has other features, and
yeah.
And I don't work for Miro or anything, but it has a voting system that you can say, okay, which activity would you prefer? Vote. It also has a chat on the side, so it works really well.
Be good for workshops and breakout
or anything. It's just wonderful for everything.
Yeah.
And this one I use the whiteboard, but there are other boards as well. Okay, Jimena, go ahead. Are you raising your hand?
Hey, yeah. Good morning. I have a question. I'm an English teacher too. I work with kids. So sometimes I try to use this kind of apps, but it's a little difficult because they're kids, and sometimes they try to write bad words, or I have difficult situations. How can I control this kind of situations? Can maybe they register or
they can sign up with their emails. Most schools, at least for example, public schools in Cali, gave each kid a Gmail account, so they can sign up with their Gmail account. And the other thing is Miro has a board history, so you can see who wrote what. Yes, added a visitor at 9:29, added a sticky note, and Juan Manuel added an image at 9:28, and you can see which image he added. Or Paola Diaz worked on a sticky note, working, sharing. Diana Diaz edited an image, so I put an image in there. Johnny Hernandez. So you can know exactly who posted what. But the other thing is, kids at the beginning, what you need to do is have a few classes where they can play and practice and put whatever they want. And then when it's worn out, like all the novelty has worn out and it's like, see, normal teacher, then they will stop doing that. You need to give them time, because this is, at the beginning, I remember when my daughter started using Zoom, they were like, yo quiero ser el anfitrión, yo quiero ser el anfitrión, I want to write on the screen. It was like new for them. They wanted to try it out. So what I did as a mother is that I got a Zoom room for me and them. Say, bueno, rayen, pues usted es la anfitriona, raya, escriba usted, hágalo. So that they could participate and wear it out and learn how to use it. And then, yeah. It was
okay, thanks. I'm going to try.
Give them a time, like, we're going to do whatever you want. You can put any picture, pero be serious, no bad words, no pornographic, images. But so that they can write and Miro will let you write whatever you want. I mean, anyways, I'm going to stop sharing this. If you guys have any questions, we didn't finally talk about the master's program because we were playing with the Miro and with the apps. But if you have any questions about the master's program this semester, I finally, after fighting my university, I got a 20% scholarship for teachers to take the master's program. So for any teacher. So if you want, and we have something new also, that is a doble titulación that I can offer the students who are there, doble titulación with the especialización en docencia universitaria that you can ask me about. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Diana, hi, there's a question in the chat.
There's a question in the chat.
Alejandra Marin is asking a question.
What payment methods do you have for the masters? Are there any sponsor possibilities? We have 20% scholarship sponsored by the university, and we have different payment methods regarding, you can pay directly with the university and they can finance it in 5 installments, or you can get, I don't know, ICETEX or Banco de Bogotá, Banco de Colombia. We have all of the banks. We work with all of the banks.
Okay.
Luis Alberto Lugo, hello.
Hello, Diana. I have a question. This double titulación doesn't apply for us that are currently doing
Sí, señor,
the
sí aplica. You can talk to me on Monday, porque también aplica para los que ya están. Si quieren, para el último semestre se matriculan en los 2 programas y al final de los 2 programas salen con los 2 títulos.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to start sharing my screen now.
Okay, so thank you very much, Diana. I hope you all got, the idea was just to show you a little bit about the masters. And of course, if you have more questions, you can ask Diana or any of the teachers of these masters. So I want to welcome you all for this last session that we're having today. Let me put this. Okay, so I don't know why it shows like the big one. So what is the idea today? So Fiona, Tim, Marcus, Diana, so welcome. Thank you very much for being here. As we promised, the idea is to have a session in which we can share our experiences. I think is based on everything that we lived during the pandemic, and as we had to go through different experiences, and based also on the questions that some of you had yesterday, I think it would be interesting to all like sit down. We call it like round table, even though that's pretty much like the metaphor. Is that we can all sit down and share what we learned, the challenges, and so forth. So what we're going to ask you to do is already shared in our chat here a link to a Padlet, and I'm going to show you the Padlet here right now. So what is the idea? This is what the plan. We have actually 4 general topics, and the last one is a wrap up. That we want to focus on this conversation take into account everything that you've told us. I mean, like we have the chance to talk about yesterday and everything that we have shared during all this period. So the idea is that we are going to start the conversation to see how teachers have lived this experience. So that means we have Marcus, we have Tim, we have Fiona, we have Dianita, Mia will participate as well. And it is that you can also speak and participate here. So first of all, we invite you to open your microphones, to turn on your cameras. I mean, I think this is a great opportunity to do something that we've dreamed of. It's like to have a classroom with everyone talking and everyone showing their faces. And feel free to interact. This is not like the experts talking about certain topic. Is we all on the same boat. We all experience this. So I think it's a great opportunity. But I want to give our guests, speakers, the opportunity to say hi. And the idea is that as we start talking, you can go to the Padlet and start like writing things that you lived or questions or comments. So we can talk here and we can go to the Padlet, and also you can participate without, going directly to the Padlet. So good morning, Tim, how are you doing?
Hi, how are you doing, Johnny? I'm fine, thank you. A bit cold here in England, but apart from that, it's all good.
Actually, it's good afternoon there, is that right?
It's good afternoon, yeah.
Marcos, that's good evening there. How are you doing?
Good evening, Johnny. It's 10:40 at night.
Oh my God, on Saturday. You're my hero.
Thank you, Marcus, for being here. And Fiona, hello.
Hi there. Yeah, as Tim said, it's a bit chilly here in England, but yeah, I'm fine. All good. I bought the Christmas tree today.
Yes?
Yeah.
Great. And Diana, welcome.
Cali is warm and beautiful and sunny as always.
That's a low blow, Diana.
So thank you very much. So we would like to start this roundtable and everyone can participate. We want to talk a little bit about the challenges of remote emergency teaching. I mean, it's the experience that we had teaching remotely, using ICT to mediate this learning process. And actually yesterday we have Marcus told us a little bit about like this idea of how it is changing now, the way students interact with each other and teachers, and how's the future of language teaching and take into account everything that we faced. And yesterday there were like some questions around like what happens with interaction, the face-to-face encounter. Is that gonna really help us, foster meaningful learning? So why don't you all, the ones who are here, share that experiences. How was it? What do you think are the challenges that we have to face and now that are coming in the use of the ICT mediating this process? So whoever wants to start, you're welcome and feel free to participate. I'm gonna stop sharing so we can see your faces. You can raise your hand and so you know that you can talk.
Jimmy Cerquera wants to participate. It says in the chat.
Jimmy, please.
And Oscar.
Okay, Jimmy and Oscar. Okay, Jimmy,
well,
go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jimmy Cerquera from Popayan. Some of the challenges, some of the challenges we have had.
So, Liz, can you turn off your
Yeah, I don't know.
This is one of the challenges.
Yeah.
Remote education.
Well, okay, some of the challenges we face during the remote teaching is, well, I teach children, but I think it happens with older students too, the families. one of the biggest challenges for me was that families didn't understand that learning is a process. Students must fail. So in their rush to have their children excel, to be the best ones, or just to to perform in a good way, they help them tras bambalinas. So they didn't realize that it was a problem for them for the future. For example, now that we have returned partially or totally to presential classes, we know that a kind of empty space, a lot of voids they have in their learning process. So what the families did in this remote teaching was kind of counterproductive to students because they help them, but now that they are all by themselves at school in their classrooms, they don't have like the same facilities, and they expect all the time, I repeat, I teach children, hey, can you help me? Can you help me drawing? Can you help me writing? Can you wait for me? So it's very heavy to have a regular class as we used to have before the pandemic. So just in short, that families kind of harm students during the remote process. And now the challenge for us is to try to have students keep up with the progress. And, you know, in every classroom, there are students that excel more than others. So it's kind of difficult to have those students that excel and those students that have 1 year and a half with almost no progression by themselves.
Can we say something? I was going to say that I think teaching parents is difficult, but showing them that when kids and parents start thinking that if you make a mistake, it's a failure, that you say students must fail. No, students must not fail. What they need to do is make mistakes, and that's fine. If you make a mistake or if you need to try it again, but you need to teach parents that making a mistake is not failing, that having a second opportunity to repeat an assignment doesn't mean that you fail, that you're not learning, that is part of the process. So parents need training as well, but we need to change we need to help them change the idea that because they didn't do well the one time, it's a failure, because then they're going to think that they need to do their homework for them. But if you tell them you cannot learn for them, they need to learn themselves, but give them the chance. Don't worry if they don't do well at the beginning, at the end. What parents want is good grades. And so if we engage in the good grade dilemma, then parents are going to continue to help the kids. But if you tell them the grade is not what's important, I'll give everyone a 5 at the end, as long as they learn, as long as they start constructing learnings and building from there. If a student makes a mistake at the beginning, you can always let them redo it. No, pues que lo haga otra vez, it doesn't matter. But as long as he does it, if he does it, he can get a better grade. If you do it, he won't get a good grade. So that parents understand that making a mistake or having errors is not a bad thing. It's part of the learning process. But this is hard, no? Because you get a 0 and you get a 0, and you can never undo the 0. But don't no jueguen el juego. I mean, I don't know if I make myself clear. Yes, Dr. English.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting question and comment from Jimmy. I think it's bound to be really, really difficult when children have been being, home taught, and then they come back to school. There'll be I think it's happening all over the world. You've got very many different things going on, because you've got the parents who have, for the first time, really got involved directly in the teaching. And so they then develop opinions of their own about what is good and how the children should learn or not learn. You'll have children coming from families where there is a lot of support, and children coming from families where there is very little support, where there has been little support, either because the family itself is not very well educated, or because they've been out at work. And so there've been all of those issues going on. And there've been issues of discipline and getting the children to do the work that's been set by the teachers. And then they all come back into the classroom, where they've kind of lost the habit of studying, actually. And it's for many, particularly younger children, but for all of them, they have to learn once again about some kind of classroom routines and classroom behaviors even. So I think for teachers, it's great to have the students back at school, but it's going to be, it must be a really, really hard thing to bring everything back into some kind of order, if you like. I don't mean, sort of discipline, but actually getting back into the habits of learning face-to-face in a class with other students.
Thanks, Fiona.
I think Samir's raising his hand.
Samir, there you go.
Oscar also wants to participate.
Who?
Oscar Sanchez.
Okay, so Samir
But Oscar knows how to raise his hand in Zoom, no?
After so we can see.
First, the Professor Samir, please.
Thank you, Oscar. Well, I was just going to say that there's I think there's a cultural, social foundation to this as well. And this is not just exclusive to remote education, even like face-to-face experiences. We don't like to fail. Society is not configured for us to fail. We're always pushing each other to succeed. That's a very competitive world we live in. And as we progress, it becomes ever more competitive. So although mature people see making mistakes like as an opportunity for a second learning, etc. Most students, most parents, and many aspects of society don't understand this. I think I was reading an article a while ago about the pressure that I think it's Korean students who face, if I'm not mistaken. It takes it to a level of suicide because the competition is so high to get into university and get good grades and all the rest of it, that if they don't make it, it's like you're nobody, you don't exist. So I think it's that idea, and getting that to students it's not easy because the whole system's always pushing them to become, to succeed, to become the best, to get the best grades, get the best job, the highest salary, etc. Everything's about winning. We don't know how to lose, and losing's, in my opinion, losing's not bad. Losing's part of winning. It's about how to win in the future. I think we need to lose once in a while to be able to understand the duality of life, because life cannot just be all about winning all the time. But I think societies don't especially Western societies, but I'd say Eastern too. We don't get this idea, and as time passes, we're always moving towards a very extreme position of competition. Basically, I think that's the foundation of what Jimmy was saying.
Thank you very much, Samir. Oscar, and then Alejandra.
Okay, good morning. I think that this hasn't been an easy task, but I think that is more that we have earned and that we have improved our teaching, including the ICT, even in a remote context, that the bad things that are associated to this implementation. As Dr. English said yesterday, it depends on the creativity of the teacher and on how to use and how to adapt their teaching with this ICT. And I think that and this is something that is happening nowadays in our schools, and is that teachers think that coming back to schools mean coming back to old teaching methods. And I think that the implementation of ICT, especially in English as a foreign language and yes, English for a speaker of other languages, requires this, as it provides us a lot of resources and materials that weren't available in the past. Yeah, like videos, like the interaction with people everywhere. And I think that it demands us as teachers to understand that and avoid that rejection about, okay, I don't like it, the remote teaching, I don't like to interact in a different environment that face-to-face, and understand that this is something that he is here for good, and we can do better things using this than that we used to do in the past without them.
Thank you very much. Alejandra?
Alejandra Marin.
Yes, Alejandra Marin.
We'll just leave her for later for a little while.
Yeah.
We had, can I? Yes, go ahead.
Is it okay now?
Yes. Go ahead. You can participate now.
All right, sorry. Okay. Well, this has been a very great experience for me, you know, and especially because I think we have been taking care of the students, families. What can we do? What tools can we implement in the classrooms? And I think we have forgotten a little bit about the teachers. How do they feel? And I have been reflecting a lot because from my personal experience, okay, all the time I say, oh my God, when this is going to end and everybody's gonna be in the classroom, please, Lord, help us. And then when Professor Marcus said, this is not gonna change and students will continue being at home, and the other ones in the class said, no, I didn't want to hear that. But it's a reality, okay? It's a reality. And he showed an amazing picture of a classroom with all this technology, the cameras, the sound. And I say, yes, well, it's possible in that kind of environment. But to be honest, in our reality here, for example, in Colombia or in developing countries, we don't have that technology, you know. In my classroom, I have the camera for my computer, a little microphone. Then I have the classroom full of kids, and I have kids virtual, like at home, and it's so stressful. So this is gonna continue being so stressful for us. And I think teachers are at risk for the emotional stress that we are having. We are dealing with so many things, and we are a bomb. And it's possible that we can explode at whatever moment, and the mental health is going down, is decreasing. So what can we do? How can we help teachers in these kind of countries when we don't have all this equipment, you know, and what can we do?
If I may momentarily,
Sorry, can I just say one, Marcus, can I just say one very quick thing before
yes,
you?
hi, Fiona.
Just wanted also to add into that mix. It's all very well talking about all this technology and hybrid teaching, etc. When we're talking about university students, but when we're talking about school students, it's a very, very different matter, not only because of the unequal availability, and it's, you know, I mean, it's only going to be very few people that have access to the resources, but actually because parents have to go out to work, and they can't go out to work if their children are at home, you know, part of the time or not part of the time. And I think, you know, all of these issues, these social issues, get very lost in the, you know, in the how wonderful all the technology is. So I just wanted to throw that in because I think it was part of what Alejandra was talking about as well. It's parents and teachers, as well as the stress on students for not participating with their friends. So I'm just going to, I'll stop now. Sorry.
And I completely agree, Fiona. And we're seeing it here with our friends who've got children in the same situation, the difficulty of juggling that with work and so on. But the point I would make is, from a teacher perspective, is the one I made yesterday, is the absolute necessity of our institutions to give us time and resources for training. You know, we need to not only know how to work the stuff ourselves, but we need to know how to train not only the students, but their parents as well. how to work the stuff. And our institutions need to free up resources of time and energy, financial, to give us the training. And I think this is what's missing. I think there's almost an assumption that we know what we're doing with this stuff. And I think that's really dangerous. And I think it should not be assumed. And I think the institutions have to step up and make the difference, or they will continue to have very, very poor online learning experiences for the kids, and you know, whether they're university kids or school kids. So I think everything that was said before is absolutely right, and there's no easy answer. But unless institutions mature into this new realm, then we're not going to be successful.
Yes. It's very challenging times. Johnny Hernandez is raising his hand.
Good morning. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Well, first off, I would like to say that this experience has been quite challenging, extremely challenging. And I could mention a lot of things, but I would like to say that keeping students engaged, you know, virtually, it's very difficult. I had to deal with that. And because, well, when you are at home and you are sitting at your computer, attending a virtual class, you also have the chance to, you know, play video games or do whatever thing you want to do at the moment. So we had to deal with that, and that was very difficult. And well, another thing that we had to deal with is that students, well, they were using Google Translate, okay? And so when you were grading assignments, well, you could easily tell that the student used Google Translate. So grading, that became a very difficult task, because, well, you have to give students the benefit of the doubt, but sometimes as a teacher, you can easily tell when a student has used a translator, okay? And the third thing that I would like to mention is that dealing with excuses, you know, let's say, for example, that we are in a virtual class and then we are doing a, let's say, speaking activity, and then when you ask a student to participate, okay, it is your turn, then the student says, oh, you know, the student shoots a message on the chat, my mic is broken. So, you know, dealing with all those things was quite challenging. Well, fortunately now, we are back to on-site classes. So right now we are not dealing with that. But I am aware that since the pandemic is still ongoing, we could be back to that again. So, well, that's what I would like to say, you know, about this challenge, you know, that we are facing now. Thank you.
And that's why we created a code of conduct for online learning, which includes things like microphone and video access being confirmed. And in the rule, the student has to email the teacher before the lesson if their microphone doesn't work, right? And then it's moving away from something I mentioned yesterday, a model of participation which is separate from attendance, right? Because you can log in and go shopping, right? But so you might look like you're attending, but you're not. So we're now talking about, let's not measure attendance anymore. Let's measure participation. Let's measure engagement. And I think that's the way we're going to go with it. And that affects online in-class students as well. Now, look, I don't know about South America, but there's a very interesting phenomenon in China, which is really, really common, and that is the sleeping student. Do you have that? Where the back row of a class has kids literally snoring, you know, completely fast asleep. Now, officially, they've attended, but they haven't engaged because they're kipping. Do you have that in South America as well?
Yeah, happens all the time.
Right, it's a really
That they actually
common
fall
thing in
asleep?
China.
No, I've never had students like actually fall
Fully
asleep.
asleep. In China, they'll come in, they'll make pillows out of their bags and coats, and they'll say goodnight, and they'll just head off, and they'll sleep for the full 2 hours, snoring away happily. It's a really common thing.
Yeah.
But
It happened to us.
officially they've attended. So we're moving away from attendance to engagement, and the kind of internet stuff is launching it for us as well.
I want to say something. If a student can sleep throughout 2 hours of classes because we haven't given we haven't given them anything to do. If we say this is what you need to do, you need to write this, you need to give it to me, or you won't get a grade, they have to wake up and participate. Same happens in virtual classes.
Yeah.
Same happens in virtual classes. If you are the one speaking, and they're like, they can go to sleep, just record the class, I'll watch the video later. That the Miro, for example, that I was just showing you, it has the possibility of seeing who did what, who wrote what. And it's a matter of not control, because I am not, even if I may look like I'm a controlling person, I am not. I like to have, I like to be organized and disciplined, but you can understand who participated, who did what. If everyone has a job, a task in class, it means that you can say you didn't do your task. Where's the evidence? You haven't done it. So they can't go to sleep. They can't play video games at the time of class. But if it's a teacher speaking, and the student doesn't have to do anything or doesn't have to participate in any way, then
and they have the right to go to sleep.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair here as well, if I'm being completely honest, the traditional mode of education here is very much teacher stand up front, teacher talk to slides, student engages by sleeping. To be honest, yeah. I mean, that is the norm. I observe classes every week, and the number of classes I've been to where a video would actually have been better. I mean, here's an example, right? I literally went to a class 2 weeks ago, not in my university, thankfully, where the teacher handed out about 15 pages of photocopy and said, read this, you've got 45 minutes. And then just went on his phone.
I got paid for it.
And they're paying for it, yes. It's quite an astonishing thing.
I think
Tim has seen all this as well. Tim and I have been around China looking at this stuff. He's seen all of this as well. It's quite an incredible thing. You
ought to come to South America and see the way we participate. Our students, you cannot shut them up. You tell them, who wants, me teacher, all of them. And even master students. I'm sure some of the participants here today are our students at the university. And what you hear when they tell you, okay, we did this in the class and we did this with my students and my students produced this and I brought it. It's amazing. And their students participate and take part. So I don't know. I believe, yeah, of course, probably there are kids sleeping in the class, but I don't think it is that frequent. I don't know. But I think we've managed to move to rethink the role of the teacher.
Okay.
And go beyond just speaking and letting the others lead.
Diana, that sounded to me very much like an invitation.
Of course, yes. No, oh no. Let me
I will hold you. I will hold you to that as soon as the
it's
board
on video and on YouTube. I will.
Yeah.
I will.
There's no way to do that.
We will organize our finances, and then because at the moment we're like, oh, dry. But Dr. Marnus. But we will find a way. We will find a way.
But I think that was more of an invitation for you to go to China, Diana, and share your experience.
Well, that is equally true, Fiona.
He's the one who works for the fancy university.
Yes.
So.
Look west, Diana. Look west. Get on a plane. It'll be fascinating for you.
Okay.
Whole new experience.
Alejandro's raising his hand.
Okay. Hi. No, what I wanted to say is that there is a difference between high school and the university students. They are totally different. Even when they are like 2 months
1 month apart.
yeah, apart, and they behave differently. And our students are different, definitely. But I do see that sometimes I am doing exercises and I'm trying to get them engaged. And I do see the computer thing. You know, they open the computer, they're looking at you, and suddenly you realize they are not doing anything. It's like, are you really in my class? Like, come on, you know, like, so that is going to happen. That is going to happen for sure, you know, like, and the only thing is what Diana was saying, you know, like you have to keep checking and keep, you know, keep asking them, okay, are you in my class? Are you doing this? You know, what do you think? And sometimes I do something that is really annoying for them. Sometimes I just tell them not to open the computer or the cell phone. So like, just, we're going to talk. And they're like, what? What are you talking about? We are not going to use the cell phone. And it sort of helps sometimes to gather them again into the classroom. But yeah, it is sometimes it is very challenging. But I do not have. I only had Federico, you know, a famous student here that was sleeping all the time. But you know, we don't have sleeping students, definitely not in our classes.
Thank you. So I think this idea of learning by doing became very important now that we were teaching remotely. Now, I mean, we really needed to get students engaged, because I think that's the key. That's what you mentioned. I mean, is how can you get your students engaged in class so they could actually focus and do something? Because of course, this gave them the chance to do several things at the same time. No, it's not only that they're not paying attention, it's that they were able to watch TV, do this. I mean, I don't know how they did it. And sometimes you could talk to some students, hey, what are you doing? Teacher, I'm here washing the car, or I'm doing this. And they said it. And I was, oh, so how are you paying attention? No, teacher, I'm listening. So that thing of having students doing something was something that we were more conscious at this point. And probably for those who did it, worked out pretty well. In some cases, it didn't. So I'm going to show you a little bit the comments that we have in the first part so we can move on to the other ones. First, we have the challenges. I think many of the things you've mentioned, having students interact and participate in class, it was at the beginning very difficult. At the beginning, we had the full groups in Zoom or in other platforms. And then as we learned how to use a little bit more the technology, we ended up using breakout rooms. And the students actually liked that. I remember that we asked students how they felt working the breakout rooms, and they really liked the fact that there were 5 or 3 talking. This is true. Victor mentions that 50%, I mean, especially in public schools here, you cannot have, they don't have access to the same connectivity or resources. And in fact, I had teachers who tried to use WhatsApp, use many resources to get to contact their students, and sometimes it was impossible. Sometimes just students dropped out or disappeared, and that was something that happened a lot in Colombia. And there were challenges like time consuming, because I know teachers have to plan, and learning how to use technology, and so forth. And I think this one is very interesting, like how ELT efforts, I mean, how we try to continue promoting learning was really difficult in this situation. In Colombia, we already have a problem with public education, like face-to-face or not face-to-face is always being problematic. So imagine now that these kids didn't have, not only for English, for everything. And so that was a huge problem here. Even more, and this is very interesting, is like some of the kids, in order to receive 1 meal a day, they depended on schools. I mean, it was not only in terms of technology, it was English or anything. It's like they needed that meal. I mean, lunch and food. I mean, so they could really, like have certain, food. We have to say like that. So this goes beyond just learning and teaching. It really affected these kids in every single way. And we haven't seen the results yet. I think at the university level, schools levels, the educational gap, I think, is now huge. and we still haven't seen the consequences. I think they're coming, and now we have to deal with it. That's the issue at the university level and the schools level. So how about, I mean, the second
Dr. Mar is raising his hand.
I'm sorry, Tim, did see you.
Just one very quick thing. I think you to a large extent, I came to terms with teaching via Zoom and so on, and you can kind of replicate a lot of the classroom experience virtually. But I found that what I really missed was all the bits around the edges, the information you get from chatting with your students while you're setting the room up, chatting in the coffee break, when you're walking around the class, people would say things to you, over you having lunch with your students, that kind of thing. And it made me realize how much you fine tune your teaching to the interests of your students and reflect their personalities. And it's very difficult when you feel you don't really know the students because you've never met them. And it made me feel that my teaching that had it theoretically been a sharp surgical scalpel before, responding to the needs of the students, was now a very blunt instrument. And I was very conscious of the fact that I was just putting information out there, and I wasn't quite sure if it was what the kind of stuff that they wanted. And it was simply that I couldn't relate to them by the little chats in the corridor and the chat before and after the class. And I think if we do move to substantially online teaching in the future, it would also be a great pity to lose that aspect of face-to-face, the stuff that happens outside the classroom.
And Tim, so many teachers here have been telling me exactly the same thing, but they just don't know the students in the way that they used to, you know? Yeah. Nick, as you know, our friend Nick, I mean, complains endlessly about all of those personal relationships that shaped the way he taught a room have basically disappeared, really.
That's exactly what I mean. That's a nice way of putting it. The personal relationships that shape the way you teach a room. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Thank you. So how about our roles now? I mean, like, what changes in the way we language teachers, I mean, have faced all this pandemic and everything we've done? I mean, in terms of our roles as language teachers, students' roles in the language classroom, what can you tell us? I mean, the participants, about the roles that you have to assume during the process, and how is it going to change now with what is coming? There are some comments in the chat that I'm going to share in our Padlet, so you can have it over there.
Samir.
Samir, thank you. There, go ahead.
Thanks. I think one of the things I've noticed, and again, this is in either kind of education, face-to-face or remote, but it's more accentuated in remote. And it's connected with the challenges and the role that you're talking about, is about conceiving what education is, or what learning is. I had the experience of going through education all the way to university, even to postgraduate studies, without learning much, to be honest. Because nobody ever asked me the right questions, nobody ever pointed out things that I hadn't noticed, etc. And for me, learning was just about understanding stuff and being able to reproduce it and pass exams and get a title, a degree, whatever you want to call it. And that's it. That was learning. And then when I became a teacher here in Colombia, and I became a student in Colombia as well, that's when I realized what learning is. And I think our students don't know that. I often have a chat with them about that, and I ask them this question: what are you doing? You pay so much money in our university, your parents pay so much money. What are they paying for? What are you here to do? What's your role as a student? And it's absolute silence. They have no idea how to answer that question, because what happens is that I feel like a lot of our teachers, I'm saying this in a general sense, not just at our university in general sense, we spend a lot of our time teaching. And there's a phrase here that I hate, absolutely hate. Students say, Profe, voy a recibir clase. I'm there to take class. I think Johnny used it a little while ago. Somebody else used it. I think Marcus talked about video class as well. It's like, well, I'm here to watch your class or observe your class or take your class. I hate that phrase. Like, what are you, that's, you're wasting your money. You're wasting your time. What are you doing here? I'm not going to teach you anything. You need to learn because I designed this experience in a way in which you need to learn. So it's about the students learning. It's not about the teacher teaching. And I think we as teachers, we always want to teach because we don't understand what learning is about. And students, because they've gone through this whole tradition of being talked at the whole time in their teaching experience, primary school, high school, university, etc., they just go into that mode. It's like, okay, I'm here. Talk to me. I'm going to absorb everything that you say, and that's it. And of course, this is a generalization. This doesn't happen all the time, but through experience, I've noticed this. And for me, the minimum that a student should be able to answer is like, what's learning? You know, what are they doing in their learning process? What is learning? And for me, it's a transformation. But if we get students to understand that early on in their educational process, I think we can overcome a lot of the challenges that we've been talking about. Because suddenly, when you understand why you're doing things and how that's going to make you grow as a person, all the silly stuff goes out the window, like sleeping in the back of the class and you know, not participating and doing well. At least in theory, I think it should go out the window. But I think students don't understand that. So their role as a student, being an active learner, that's a very difficult step for students. And partly, I think it's because the system, including institutions, education, teachers, materials, and everything, that hasn't quite configured them. And I'm talking about Colombia here because I don't know about other realities, but in Colombia, it seems to me that students don't understand that they're there to learn actively. It's more like, I'm here to receive class or take class, and that's it. And I think we need to change that soon and at all levels of our education.
Thank you, Samir. Thank you very much, Oscar, and then Dr. Fiona.
Samir, that's a point I agree with. Yesterday, I mean, I talked about our students starting to see paying fees as buying a ticket, right? Like they go into the movies, right? It's exactly what Samir said. But one thing that was very interesting that Tim and I used to say to each other after observing lots of lessons in China together was, we've been to many classrooms where we saw a lot of teaching happening and basically no learning happening. And I think the differentiation between teaching and learning has to be explored more and more and more in our profession. And I think Samir, excuse me, it is Samir, isn't it? Absolutely right about that. Absolutely right. We can teach till the cows come home. Students have to choose to learn.
Yeah.
Right? We facilitate it. We don't just demonstrate it, you know?
Thank you very much. Yeah, you're right. Oscar.
I think that even or in addition to what Samir said, the redefining the roles into active teaching and implementing some new strategies like PBL and all these strategies that fit better with virtual and hybrid models has been more difficult for teachers because parents are now part of the classes. And when a teacher is trying to move the focus of the class into the student, more parents are thinking that the teacher is not doing anything, and they express it openly. They open the microphone and say, "Teacher, you are not teaching. I want that you teach my son, my daughter." And this is something that I think is related with the generational barrier. Yeah, we as fathers, or we as fathers, fathers want to that their sons and daughters receive the same education that they receive, and they don't understand that the education is moving forward now there are different ways to understand, to learn. And this is something that, especially in the Colombian context, we have to deal with. And I think this is a strong barrier that we need to face, and it hasn't been an easy task. I think this is something very, very important in order to consider when you are trying to implement that you are teaching a classroom with maybe children or teenagers, but at the same time you're teaching their parents, that in some cases they are behind the student and looking at the class and open to criticize the teacher's task.
Thank you very much. That's true. Fiona.
Yeah, I was going to pick up on something that Samir said, but Marcus came in and said it. I mean, one of the things when you were talking yesterday, Marcus, was the idea of the student as audience. And I think that is a very powerful, it's not really even a metaphor probably, because that has become an increasingly common aspect. So the student feels that, and they're watching YouTubes on how to do things. They're getting their whole way of getting information is just to go somewhere and collect it. And they don't really need to input anything themselves. And so they are like an audience. And I think the difficulty will be, well, twofold. One that's just been talked about, how teachers perceive themselves and what their job is. And I can give a very brief anecdote of a time at a university in London, where I was working with some of the subject lecturers to just do some work with the students. It was on dissertations, writing dissertations. And I went into the class and I'd got my tasks that I did with students, MA students, got them to work in groups and discuss what their topic they thought they would be, et cetera, et cetera. And there was a sort of set of questions that they worked from. And the lecturer who I was sitting with at the back or at the front of the room, and the students were just getting on with it. And I was chatting to the lecturer and he said, hold on a minute, you're not doing anything, and yet the students are all doing stuff. And he couldn't believe that you could have a class where the teacher sort of sat around or occasionally wandered over to see what the students were up to. For him, that was a massive learning moment, actually. And he said he changed the way he taught, but I didn't go and observe him in the process. But I think that the issue about what do teachers do, and I think that's come up in the chat as well, is teachers develop activities for their students to do. Obviously, you have to do some talking from the front, but that can be an interactive process. But there also has to be a lot of things that students need to be doing that they can get on with by themselves. So we need to, and this is going to become even more important if hybrid teaching, and I still have my doubts because I think of the inequality around the world of people with access to, the equipment and so on. But if this is becoming a thing, then teachers need to, I don't need to use we anymore, teachers need to think about how they can get their students to do activities based on the kind of digital materials that they're working with, so that they are engaged, as has been said. So I will lower my hand and stop myself.
Thank you very much, Fiona. Tim.
Just one thing, and I almost hesitate to say this because it's not a very nice thing to think, but it's a sobering thought has come to me that if things move on technologically speaking in the way that we think they now are likely to, there are some very rough and difficult and challenging times ahead for teachers who are not very good And for teachers who are lacking charisma or who are unwilling to engage with technology or who don't particularly like teaching and are not the sorts who take a great pride in getting students engaged and so on, I think a lot of those people will be leaving the profession in one way or another over the next decade or two.
Thank you. Yes.
But that's a good thing.
Yeah,
like
I'm not going to say it's a
teaching.
good thing or a bad thing. I just thought I would put it out there. But yes, in many ways, I think it is a good thing. But it's it still might be a bit of a shock to the system, I think, for quite a lot of people.
That was a point I was trying to say between the lines yesterday, mate. You know.
Yeah, Marcus.
The whole...
I know you're not used to using Zoom, but you got to put your hand.
No, Zoom is illegal in China. I don't know any of the
illegal in China. It would be quicker to tell us what's not illegal in China.
Oh my God, the police!
If you look at reactions, you can
in a minute. Am I going to be in big trouble?
I hope this is not broadcasted over there.
It is being broadcasted.
Of course it's not.
I don't think it's going to be there.
It's live on YouTube.
Don't worry about that. I can't for YouTube.
Thank you. Let's do Alejo. Alejo, please.
I'm so glad to see that we have delinquents here in the. I didn't know. I thought we were only teaching. Okay, so no, coming back to what Tim said earlier, one thing that happens to me when I'm teaching phonetics for my licenciatura, for my teachers programs, it is I need the faces. I need the faces. I mean, I'm not kidding, because when I am explaining, since this is highly technical, when I'm explaining, I see the face of the person that is not understanding something. It's like, hey, what? Come, do you understand? Yes. So repeat to me what I have said. No, I can't. No, you are not understanding. And they don't even know that they are not understanding until I tell them that they are not understanding, because I see them. I see their faces and I know they are not following, and sometimes it is so evident, and it was so hard when I was in this remote mode, because I couldn't establish the relationship, and it was impossible to tell them, open your cameras and please, blah, 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 but it was never the same, and it was very, very difficult, and I got very, very discrete results when I was in remote, and I came back this semester, and it was okay again. It was like, oh yeah, okay, so you're understanding or not? Are you giving me this or not? And since I do have to, because I mean, like in the language class, you do a little bit of teaching, but in these technical classes, for teachers, you have to actually teach stuff, and then, but it is of course it is that you teach something and they have to do stuff, and they are transcribing. I mean, we all know how difficult it is at the beginning to transcribe, and they are transcribing, and this physical mode, and I mean, and you can do it remotely, but it is a lot harder for them and for me, and sometimes it is quite frustrating to get to do that. And I can't imagine, mathematics teachers. I was thinking about that. I was like, man, if this is hard for me, and how difficult it is going to be for math teachers, because you don't see the faces of the people. And I think that is very, very important when you're doing this process. You have to get to know. We have to get into the head of the student, and sometimes even tell them, like I said, you are not understanding what I'm saying. I am seeing it in your face, you know, and it actually works a lot better when you're face to face. And that is something that you are not going to get. I mean, I mean, we don't know with this, you know, all ominous, you know, thing of the new variant that you are going to go back to lockdowns, but that is something that I cannot do quite well when I am in this remote mode.
Thank you, Alejo. Thank you. Dr. Fiona.
Yeah, just one couple of things I forgot to say last moment. Of course, probably about 2/3, if not more, of a teacher's work is not in the classroom. And I think that's a really important aspect that teachers in training need to understand, is that it's their preparation, their design of materials, and the way in which they think those materials will work with students, and then they're trying them out and refining. So teaching is like research, basically. And every day when you go into a classroom, whether it's a university lecture that you're giving, or a seminar, or, you know, English language class in a school in a remote area, a teacher's work is research, basically. So that was one thing I wanted to say. And related to that, the concern I have, or one of the many concerns I have about this remote teaching, etc., is the way in which courses will be marketed. And that was discussed yesterday as well. Tim talking about, you know, the students choosing to have English language, native English speakers teaching, and so on. And the packaged courses that will become available, and already are available online, that will be being sold, and where kind of off the peg teaching, which has no relationship, or no direct relationship with the students and the context in which those students are learning. And I think this is something that we need to be very concerned about, because then it affects the way, you know, the whole issue about teaching, about learning, and about how future generations will think about knowledge and develop their own sort of ability to evaluate and be critical, because everybody will be living in their little kind of isolated bubbles at the end of you know, of a computer screen. I know that's a kind of terrible outlook, but it you know, the pandemic has kind of exacerbated this, because of the isolation that people have been living in, on and off. So I just wanted to kind of flag up those two issues.
Thank you. I think somebody, I mean, there's some questions in the chat, and also you can text. I mean, if you have comments, you can go to Padlet as well.
The discussion in the chat has to do with the teacher's role, about like the difference between teaching and learning. And we're saying that part of what Fiona said, that the role, the work of the teacher takes place before class, not always during class, because you design the learning experience more than doing slides for teaching whatever, grammar, I don't know, more than what happens during class with the participation of the teacher is the design before the class, so that they can actually, now in the chat we were saying that we need to teach, and I stopped teaching grammar. And so there are videos for that. I give them 2 videos, compare the videos, tell me which one you like better. Why was this one better than the other one? Would you prefer to? And then we go about what did they say about the grammar, how, and we discuss it, and I don't have to explain it. I'm not so good at explaining grammar. And there are experts for that. I mean, lots of experts. We have 3 over here. So, but I think it requires for us to plan beforehand. What is it that we're going to do with the materials that we bring, with the resources, with the spaces that we may provide? And so the teachers, the workload where you actually earn your salary doesn't really take place in those 2, 3, 4 hours that you spend in the classroom, but before, designing and planning and understanding. And at the beginning, it might be hard to plan, for example, for them to work in groups or cooperative activities or using technology. But the more that you do it, the less difficult it becomes. And so I think what we need to move away is from the idea that what's important in the class is the teaching. What's important in the class is not the teaching, is the learning. So I tell my students sometimes, ¿vieron que hoy no les enseñé nada? Uy, sí, profe, aprendimos un resto. I don't need to teach them anything for them to learn. I need to design the learning experience so that they can use whatever resources I've chosen for them beforehand, and the interaction that I have planned for them to be able to do beforehand, so that they can actually use the language and produce and learn with each other. Sometimes it's easier when they learn together than when they learn with me. I have forgotten how was it that I learned the language, or how hard it is to be a language learner. In my master's class, I make them learn Italian and Swahili and Greek so that they feel how hard it is. It's hard and we forget. And so.
The other something that you said about, I mean, just it came out to my head right now. It's about the flip learning thing with the grammar. I mean, the key, there's one thing, of course.
I flip the grammar and the vocabulary.
Having time to record our own grammar explanation takes time. But I just want to go, I mean, focus on this. I mean, yeah, I flip grammar. Actually, I remember that I asked my students to study the passive voice before class. But in class, I spent the class, I mean, like 20 minutes with them checking newspapers headlines where the passive voice was being used. And I mean, yes, they knew the structure, but thanks to someone who's here, because I took that from someone's chapter somewhere, that Fiona said she in her book.
I don't have the books here.
Yeah.
I cannot flash the books around.
Because when I read something Fiona and Tim wrote in their book about, I mean, the passive voice, I was like, I mean, we always teach passive voice, and the exercises are changed from passive to active, and I flipped that. But in class, I said, okay, check these headlines. I mean, there's newspapers headlines. So, and they say, why do they omit the person who did this? And we did it in Spanish and English, no? Because at that moment we were having the political unrest over here, and so it was really interesting. When in Spanish they said, una bala la mató. I mean, like in Spanish, I mean, she was killed by a bullet. And I was like, is the bullet? Who killed her? So they started, no, teacher, the police, no, teacher, the soldier. So I think the message is that, yeah, we flip things, but the idea is to use the class time to really get it deep into the important stuff, which is interacting, which is learning why we use the language in certain ways. And that's something that I try to do a lot, and especially with the projects that teachers design here at Icesi, because I mean, I just want to mention that in front of everyone. They were awesome because most of those projects focus on real life, what we were experiencing at the moment, the COVID, the confinement, how you interacted with your parents. I mean, and English was used to express themselves and to really connect. So I think it's, yeah, flip learning. I think we can flip some things that we don't want to spend time, hey, this is the structure, but use class to go deeper on things that they need to understand how to use the language. So I just want to make that comment.
So you earned your salary finding the resources. Yes, Amir.
Connecting with what Johnny is saying about flipped learning of grammar and vocabulary, I think one of our roles, and with the previous question of roles as teachers, one of our roles is to help students see things that they can't see by themselves, possibly, or that they haven't been shown previously, possibly. So, for example, with grammar, and taking the example of passive voice or conditionals that I've been teaching recently as well, one of the things I normally ask students to do is, okay, so we've got conditionals grammar. I'm not really going to teach you conditionals grammar. You're going to learn it, and then you're going to explain it to me. And I propose like an activity where they have to explain how conditionals work, but also why conditionals are used. And they get into a right mess. They have no idea. Like, they've never thought about why grammar. They've only thought about how grammar most of the time. Another example, we tend to dissect language into isolated buckets to be done in a chronological order. Once in a while, I've done an exercise of verb tenses, where I get them to see verb tenses in a global sense, like we use them in language. So there was this idea of show me visually how you see the past tense in a timeline. And then now show me how you see the past tense, the past continuous tense on a timeline. And now show me how you see the past perfect on a timeline. And now show me how you see the present perfect on a timeline. And they get into a right mess because they've never seen tenses in a global set. Well, they've seen them, but they've never consciously done work with them in a global sense. Because when we teach the past tense, we only teach the past tense, or we only teach the past tense and the past continuous, or something like that. Then there's a break, and then we move on to the present perfect, and we only focus on the present perfect. But they don't understand that these weird names and what we call verb tenses, which sounds really boring, etc., that there's a real application in life. It's about our notion of time. It's about talking about life in terms of time, which is what we do all the time. But when you do that global exercise with them, suddenly they're like, pero ¿por qué nunca me enseñaron esto antes? So why didn't anybody show me this before, like that idea? Because it was just about conjugate your verbs correctly. No, this is the past tense. Do it this way. Don't do it that way, like that idea. But and they still don't get it. I mean, they still screw up on past tense all the time. Sorry, and they still make messes with the third person conjugation or that. But we know that that's never probably going to go away anyway. But at least for momentarily, and hopefully for some of them a little bit more permanently, there's this idea of notion of time in my language, and not only in English but also in Spanish. Because then I asked them, how come you use the present continuous or the present simple, I can't remember, to talk about the present perfect? And I get them into a right mess about like their own language as well. And they're like, profe, pero ¿cómo así? Eso está bien en español. I'm like, are you sure? I don't know. I'm not the expert. You tell me. But then they start comparing contrastive analysis of Spanish and English. And I don't know exactly what conclusions they all reach, because that's kind of open in the end. But at least they're thinking about language in a way that's not just repeat after me and use the formula and reproduce the formula without understanding what the formula even means, basically. So I think that's part of our roles as teachers, is like putting them into uncomfortable positions. I love putting my students into uncomfortable positions because then they need to find the comfort zone again. But we sometimes I feel like they've never seen these windows before. I think it's part of our job to do that. And that's what Diana was saying. It's about how I design my experiences in Fiona too. It's about the strength of my role is in how I conceive the experience, not what I totally do in class. Of course, I have to do some teaching, explaining, etc. in class, right? But that's not the strength of my role. I think my role is before the class. It's about how I conceive my students are going to learn whatever they're supposed to be learning.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't know. There are some people sharing ideas. Remember, you can text and we can hear it. But I just want to mention something before moving on. It's like, I don't know, in when we started this, I think teachers, the ones I had the chance to work with, the first thing we wanted to know, how to handle this situation, to organize the courses, to design the projects for our students. And something that we did, and I remember that I was with Samir and another colleague, and we said, what are the principles we should keep in mind for everything we're doing from now on? And we focus on language again. Thinking, what does it mean to learn English? So we're talking about this how the self, the context, the interaction with others. That is, I don't know if it has happened to everyone, is this has really forced us to go back to language again. We are language, experts at the end. And I think before any technological thing, we have to sit down and think, what is it that how do we understand language and how students learn and how we actually enhance those learning processes. Because at the beginning, and that's for me kind of dangerous, is that teachers seek, I mean, they look for like recipes, like how can I connect to Zoom? How can I do this? So step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I remember that when we met our teachers, we said, we're not gonna tell you the step by step. We're just gonna think what are the things that need to be like the principles for what we're doing. And from there, we need to start learning how to do it. I mean, the technical part is, I think, at the end. And that's something that was really interesting in terms of our roles. It changed a lot. Like we come back like to our basics and say, okay, yes, we need to think about language. So for me, that was really interesting in this process. So I don't know if you have any more comments, and if not, we can move on. Okay, so remember that you can share, you can text in the Padlet, use the Padlet. I think we had the opportunity to talk about a little bit about students and teachers interactions and students. I don't know if you have anything to add there. There's a question there, I remember, that is, let me look for it, that I think has to do with this, that it was done by, let me see. Tatiana, are you there?
Yeah, I am here.
Okay, you want to ask the question?
Yeah, that is something that is really important for us. Some private schools start the transition from virtual classes to face-to-face classes. And we have the problem that some of the principals wants to come back at the board and something that is basic. Didn't take in account all the things that we learned from the virtual classes. What do you think about that?
Yeah, now this transition from the virtual to the face-to-face, no?
Yeah, yeah.
Alejo had an experience. Alejandro's around here. Remember, Alejo, what happened to you? Yeah, now we're thinking, what happens now that we come back? I think it might, more than that the use of board, a book, is what is it that I learned during this process that can be very powerful to make that face-to-face encounter with our students really and really like productive, rewarding. So I guess that more, I mean, yes, we're gonna get to some institutions, we're gonna say you gotta go back to the book, you gotta go back to the board, but
the book or the board is not the problem. I mean,
yeah,
we're putting the issue in the wrong place, because the book is not a problem. Materials are nice. We've had books for the longest time.
Yes.
They're actually nice. You can write on them and, you know, play with them and move them around the class. The board, students can come, they love coming to the board to write stuff and participate. And it's not, the problem is not on the resources, it's not on the space. The problem is never it's not even on the physical space or on the virtual space. The issue is, how do we design the classes? How do we design the learning experiences so that with whatever we have, I have seen teachers teach emotional skills, social emotional skills through WhatsApp. I mean, the things that we have seen in this pandemic in the master's program with the reports that students have presented with their thesis, the trabajos de grado, of how they have used WhatsApp to teach. And you think, but WhatsApp is a messaging app. And they have taught and they have designed experiences, and kids have participated and they have sent pictures back and forth and they have been engaged. So the issue is never the resources. I know that in Colombia, I mean, we wish we had Marcus's conditions in a high-end university or high-end, you know, country. We have many challenges. Students don't have internet, they don't have computers, they don't have cell phones. Claro and Movistar lie when they say llegamos al 99% de los municipios. They don't go to 99% of municipalities in the country. It's not true. But the issue is in our creativity and in the way that we design the learning experiences, more going beyond the resources. If what you have is a book, use the book. If what you have is and if the principal says you have to use the book on the board, use the book on the board, but be creative, design the experience so that the kid can come to the board and help you write, so that they can use the book in what, if you only have one book for many think of an activity where they can share the book. Yes, it's a matter of designing the learning experience more than the book or the material or the marker or the Zoom. Yes.
Totally agree.
Sorry, I get passionate. I like teaching.
But sorry, I think Tatiana was referring to institutional pressure to go back to the old way of doing things. I think that's what she was referring to. Like they discovered new stuff in remote learning, but then they have to go back and do the same thing back in
yeah, that's campus. Not gonna last. They have to understand that we've learned and we can't go back. In the middle, I put a video that I don't know if you had the time to watch it, that it's the people versus education. It's a lawsuit, like a trial.
Yes.
The question in education and how education hadn't changed for ages, centuries of having the teacher sitting up front and the student, the teacher standing up front and the students just watching the teacher taking notes or copying from the board or dictation. And this has been going on for how many years now, for how many centuries, and everything else has changed, but education, it has to change. And I think the pandemic has shown us that there are ways of doing things differently and that we need to evolve. So yeah, they might say go back to the same thing. You go back to the board, you go back to the book, but you don't go back to the same thing. You don't go back to the same interaction. You don't go back to the same, you don't go back to the same designing of classes. You use the same materials because that's what you have, but you think differently. You design experiences in a different way.
I think that's the key. As you said, the problem is not the resource. The problem is that now it's your creativity and how you can design learning experiences. Because we're soon, when I end up, because I know that okay, Marcus, please, it must be like noon and like midnight there. I'm sorry. So the idea is like, as a wrap up, there's a question here. It could be the right one, or we can come up with another one. Is what stays and what goes after the whole experience? For you as teachers, as what you've lived. We say after the pandemic, but we're still in the middle. So I'm sorry, we say the post-pandemic, we haven't got there yet. But so far, what stays and what goes in terms of ELT and your own context, in terms of teaching and learning. So I don't know if you want to say anything in order to wrap up all this very interesting conversation. Stays creativity, that's for sure, as Janita says. Goes, I don't know. That'll be interesting. What are you leaving?
I think technology stays. Okay, I'm sorry, doctor. I got a red flag.
No, please carry on.
I was going to say that I think technology has to stay. We can't go back to no technology because technology is not going anywhere, and kids love technology and they are digital natives. And even if it's here, it's not going to go away. So technology has to stay, but also creativity has to stay. I think interaction needs to stay. We need to keep interaction, even if it's virtual or face-to-face or whatever. We need to be able to interact, connect, participate. And I think the new role, the role that the teacher, since teachers have not been able to teach in a traditional manner and they have had to innovate, I think that innovation has to stay. They need to stay, they need to hold on to that idea of how do I resolve this issue that they have been struggling with. And it's been hard, but if we understand that change is the new constant, is a new permanent. If we hold on to that, then we can continue creating new things.
Thank you. Tim, Marcos, and Johnny.
Yeah, just very quickly, because actually Deanna's said most of what I was going to say. I was particularly going to make exactly that point, that we cannot go backwards now in terms of technology because the students expect it. There's no way they're going to go backwards. And my own, those of you who know me know that I'm not exactly resistant to technology, but I'm not an enthusiastic adopter of new technology. And after years of being encouraged by Deanna to use Moodle. Finally, I had to use it. And
Moodle, WhatsApp, Google Drive.
I wasn't going to mention all the other things, but just in terms of teaching the Moodle, it's absolutely transformative. I can't imagine now teaching a class without using something like Moodle, just to put readings on. You know, I come across a video on my phone and I just stick it straight on Moodle and I send a thing saying, hey, look at this. And the great thing is it's all there when you get to the next semester. None of it goes away. I can't imagine going back to it, away from it myself. But it was, what I was going to say was, it was striking the response of the students when I started using Moodle was basically relief. It was kind of, oh, and I was going, wow, isn't this great? And they were going, yeah, we kind of told you it was. And I sort of, you know, I felt like a granddad sort of saying, wow, these telephone things are good, aren't they? And they're so useful. But it was a bit like, there's no way we can go. I mean, there are other things that we might debate about, but we can't go backwards in terms of technology because the students won't let us. They'll just laugh at us if we try to.
Thank you very much, Tim. Marcus.
Well,
still
Tim and
going
Deanna. Tim and Deanna took the words out of my mouth. Tim, I love you in Steve Jobs mode. It's awesome.
I'm Mr. Tech, mate.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
But it makes me reflect about the fact that we are gentlemen towards the end of our careers rather than the beginning. And thank God we have the students to pull us up by our bootstraps and make us do some of this stuff. I mean, that point you made where you kind of went, I've got this amazing shiny new tool, and they all went, yeah. So the point I'd like to add to what you and Deanna said, which is a point I made yesterday and I think bears repeating, is this has to be a thread that goes through every single aspect of the training we give our future teachers. You know, people at the start of their careers, not like us old devils. You know, if they're on an MA TESOL or they're on a CELTA or on a Delta, if we're not teaching high flex or hybrid or blended modes through every single aspect of learning, whether it's teaching practice or language acquisition or sociolinguistics, the hybrid model needs to be permeated through it from start to finish. And I think you guys are delivering an MA TESOL. And I would like to think that you are having these discussions right now about where we change our program to make sure that this is a thread. Like the writing, Tim will know this and Fiona will, being British, but like the writing through a stick of rock. I'm not sure if that translates to South America, Tim, does it?
I'm not going to even try.
But every time you take a bite, it should be visible. That's the point, really. Yeah. So that would be what I would add before bed. But I think none of this is going away. Anyone who thinks that 2019 is going to be 2022 is in my opinion, wrong. Everything I'm hearing from senior management at the various universities I have contact with are loving this. They're loving it. We're not going back. We're not going back.
Thanks, Marcus. And finally, Johnny.
Thank you. Well, I would say that the ability to adapt to new circumstances is key to succeeding as a teacher. And well, I think that whoever is lacking of this ability to adapt, adaptation, is going to have a very hard time as a teacher.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Just one more comment. Sorry, Johnny. Following on from what Marcus said, yeah, it's here to stay, and the management of institutions will absolutely love it for all the reasons that were discussed yesterday. So what is really, really crucial is that the academics, the teachers actually take ownership of it, because the managers will go for the lowest common denominator. And if teachers can't take some kind of ownership, input, development, etc., then it is going to be a very grim future, because well, for all the reasons that we have discussed over the last thing. So as my song, as the song, don't worry, let's not worry about a thing.
Yeah.
Be all right, hopefully.
Yeah. As long as we take ownership, as you said. So thank you very much, everyone. I think it was really interesting to have you all sharing. I want to thank Fiona, Tim, Marcus for staying up for too long, Dianita, and Samir, and the rest of the people who gave us this opportunity to share. I think this is the key of these conferences, that we can sit down and have this conversation as we were having coffee. I hope one day we can have that coffee again, because I think that's pretty much the idea. So thank you very much. The rest stay. Now we're gonna send you to the sponsors, and then we come just to foreclosure. And I want to thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed this moment. Thanks for everything. The Padlet is going to be there, so you can get the information whenever you want. I copy and pasted all the questions and comments in the internal chat, and I put it on the Padlet, so you can also have access to it. So, and if you need anything, just let us know, and we can actually continue working together. Thank you very much. Marcos, Fiona, Tim. Take care. If you want to sleep and do something else. Andreita, tell us what's next. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Johnny.
Thanks, Johnny. Yeah.
I think
you're mute, I think.
Yeah, you're still mute.
We can't hear you. She's not mute, but just her.
Now.
No, your audio is bad, Andreita. It doesn't sound right. So Marcus is gonna go straight to bed. He's past his bedtime. It's 12 in the evening now. It's 12 in the 12 at night, 12 in the morning. Is it 12?
It's midnight now, and I'm gonna take the dog out for a walk and then go to bed.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody. It was a real pleasure to meet you all, and I hope one day, before too long, we can do it in person.
We can do it in person. We'll work on it. We'll work on it.
We'll keep in contact.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so now.
There you
Better.
go. Okay, so unfortunately, our sponsors, that is what I did. So unfortunately, our sponsors had difficulties today to be here, but we have one sponsor who is Carlos Maya from Alliance. So this is going to be a
general plenary
room. He's going to be with us. So
Very
Carlos,
good.
it's your turn.
So after Carlos, just give us when he finishes, don't leave so we can close the event. And just stay. We're gonna have like 15, 20 minutes just to close it. Okay. Thank you. Carlos.
Maya, microphone. That's super important.
Hey guys, should I stay here or should I go to the breakout room?
No, stay here. Let's close the breakout rooms.
Stay here.
Thank you very much. Thanks for giving us a chance as a language center to tell you guys what are our plans and goals for the next year. We've been in the market in the business of education since 1999 as ELS, as many of you teachers may know. A lot of you have started your careers as teachers here when we started in 1999 as ELS. So for us, it's very important to be here. Thank you, guys. Thank you for accepting us. Basically, we've been in the market for 30 years, and it means that we have a lot of experience. We have experience on teaching people in our classrooms. We have experience on teaching companies as Tecnoquímicas, 14 years of the only one English supplier. We have experience on Baxter, Valle, Roche, universidades, como ustedes saben, Universidad Libre, Universidad del Magdalena, muchas compañías, y creemos que en todo este tiempo que llevamos dando muy buena satisfacción a nuestros clientes, creemos que es el momento propicio, un momento maduro para poder entrar a un nuevo tipo de negocio que son las franquicias. Y básicamente por una razón, toda esta experiencia tiene que ser aprovechada. Nosotros, la mayoría empezamos como profesores. Yo fui profesor de ILS, y la experiencia que hemos adquirido pues ha sido grande y todos quisiéramos tener un centro de idiomas. El tema de franquicia es que normalmente el 80% de los emprendimientos mueren en el primer año y el 70% de las franquicias que se adquieren sobreviven más de 5. Esa es una muy buena cifra para mirar. Creemos que cuando usted es propietario de una empresa, pero representa una marca con reconocimiento de 30 años, pues es muy buen tema para posicionarse. Aquí el posicionamiento es inmediato. Alliance es un centro de idiomas conocido. Los productos están diseñados y están probados. El capital y la inversión están establecidos. Hay tiempos que ya están.
What happened?
Se me fue. Qué pena. Hay tiempos que ya están establecidos, como el tiempo de plazo de recuperación de la inversión. En estos casos no hay que hacer una inversión en investigación de mercados ni desarrollo de productos. Los productos están, todos los procesos están definidos. Nosotros tenemos certificación de calidad, luego todos los procesos están establecidos. La disminución del riesgo es bastante alta. Hay análisis de manuales, entrega de manuales. Así que pensamos que con toda esta experiencia y todos estos beneficios, pues estamos creando una muy buena oportunidad para quienes desean tener su propio centro de idiomas, pero utilizando y tomando ventaja de una marca con 30 años de experiencia como Alliance. Este no es un proyecto para crear centros de idiomas del tamaño nuestro, del tamaño en el que nosotros estamos. Eso tiene unas consecuencias financieras que no quisiéramos pasarle a las personas que empiezan su negocio. Entonces, estas franquicias de Alliance están concebidas para centros de idiomas, uno por comuna, en espacios pequeños, espacios de 4 o 5 salones, de forma tal que el tema financiero no sea un tema que pese mucho para tomar decisiones. Esa es una forma, una franquicia en un centro de enseñanza presencial, pero también sabemos que el 45% de nuestros alumnos se quedan virtuales. Eso implica que Alliance no puede morir en el tema de la virtualidad, como lo estamos haciendo ahora, así que seguiremos operando esos programas virtuales y para eso están las franquicias de centros de experiencia virtual, que básicamente son centros de venta de los programas virtuales que nosotros seguiríamos operando. Me gustaría saber si alguien tiene preguntas al respecto. Pueden no tenerlas también. Ok, entonces estos serían los dos modelos de franquicia que vamos a lanzar en febrero del 2022, del año que viene. Pero básicamente el lanzamiento interno para personas que están en el área de educación es aquí, en este foro. Ya tengo 4 personas interesadas, de las que han salido en los breakout rooms que hemos hecho. Así que pues, bueno, esta es una oportunidad. Quien esté interesado, con muchísimo gusto les dejo mi teléfono por el chat. Mi nombre es Carlos Maya y mi teléfono es 312-832-5949. Y si alguien no lo apunta y es amigo de Johnny, pues le puede preguntar a él también por mi número.
Claro.
A Diana, o a Marco Valencia, que también está por ahí está, bueno, un montón de personas con quienes he tenido relación. Mi teléfono sigue siendo el mismo desde hace 30 años, así que es básicamente un teléfono público. Siéntanse en la tranquilidad de dejarlo a quien lo necesite.
Thank you very much.
A ustedes, Johnny, thank you for the opportunity to be here. It's really nice and very important to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Carlos. That's very important information. The phone is there, so if you want to contact Carlos, feel free. And so, good thing we're finishing earlier today. So we want to thank you all for participating in our 6th ELT conference, TESOL Beyond. I think it was when we were talking about the title and the purpose of the event, we definitely said this is the opportunity to really gather and talk about everything that we have faced, and mainly everything that we've learned throughout this process. As I mentioned in the first, in the opening speech, Edgar Morin says in a book, La Nueva Vía, he said that there are 2 big processes that came out of the whole this pandemic. One that actually leads to the creativity and innovation and how people try to solve problems during the pandemic times. And I think we are a great example of that. And there's a second process of those who want to keep things as they were before the pandemic. And I said, I just want to recall is that we are part of the first one. I mean, we've done a lot to change our students' experiences during that process. I mean, I think we were key in that process of keeping students connected with schools or studying. I remember stories of teachers who I was teaching and they were in the rural area, and they say, and they found different strategies to contact their students, to keep on working with them. So I think that, as I said, this great responsibility, commitment was part of what, was crucial in everything we did during this pandemic. So that's the reason why we wanted to have this conference, which is yours. And remember the Icesi, if you need anything, we're here. The foreign language department is always willing to work with teachers. We work in the Mesa de Bilingüismo. We have different projects like building teaching. I think most of you know us because of that. So as I said, we always trying to contribute here. And of course, you count on Diana Margarita with our masters, which is another way to contribute to the way we're teaching and changing our practices. So thank you very much. Remember, you're welcome at Icesi anytime. You got my contact, Andrea's contact. So if you need anything, let us know. My email is here too, the chat. So if you need, whatever you need, please contact me and we'll be willing to help you. Andrea is going to share, soon we'll send you the information of where you can get to the videos and of the conferences that we have. And she will also send the certificates for the ones who attended to this event. So any final words to my dear colleagues, Andrea, Dianita, Cristina is around there. Christy. Well, Johnny, thank you very much. Juan Manuel, Oscar. Hector, Leonardo, hello.
Colleagues and former
Thank
students.
you, Johnny. Thank you, everyone.
Silvi,
Thank you, Andrea. You're the
I
best.
see. Turn the cameras on so that we can take a picture.
Thank you, Andrea. You're the best.
Picture.
Let's have a big faces for the picture.
Turn cameras on.
Turn your cameras on.
Turn cameras on so we can send a picture.
Can
If you wait for a little while, I'll put it on a drive and send you the link so that you can download it today. But okay, so we need people with
Jennifer, hello.
Manuel.
Helbert, what's up? Luis, they were my students last semester.
Amazing. On my screen, I'm missing.
Hey, teacher, hello.
Hello.
Tatiana Segura, hello.
Turn your camera on. Uy, Juan Carlos
Victor,
Garcia, finally.
Susan, hello. Marco's sleeping. I think he left his. Juan, Victor, hello. Martha.
How do I make it?
Are we supposed to wait for the picture? I think
Wait for
everyone
the
is
picture.
waiting.
1 second. I am going to take
Victor,
several
come on,
pictures.
turn your camera.
So make sure you take a GIF because
Okay.
it's a picture.
Tatiana, where are you?
Everyone smile.
Good,
1, 2.
Diana.
I'm going to take the picture. 1, 2, 3. Okay. First picture taken. Give me a second.
Here's Tatiana. Hello.
Do we get a copy of the picture then?
Right now. Hold on. Hold your horses. Everyone uses more Google than OneDrive, right? So I'm just going to save it on Google Drive.
But we have to take more because this is the first.
Well, yeah.
I know. Tina, Darío, Darío. Meanwhile, I want to say hi to everyone. Jenny, Carolina, Nico. Hey, Nico, what's up?
Me?
Heber Gallejo, Carlos, how you doing? Carlos Delgado, Maribel, Fran, Johan, Juan Carlos, Maimen Darío, Juan Felipe, Andrés, Gina, Alexandra Barragán, Isis.
Okay, I took the first. Espere, wait. Uy, Carlos Delgado, he made it. Okay, I'm going to take a second picture. Smile for the smile. And I'm going to send you the links right now.
Hey, Tatiana Segura, do you remember me?
Huh. So 2 pictures.
Years.
I only have Jenny on the third picture. Jenny, smile. Ya me lo apago.
Jenny, Gina, okay. Sandra, bye.
Okay, so I'm going to send you right now a link to a folder so that you can download. Don't go just yet.
Please don't go.
There you go. Okay. I have my OneDrive, my Google Drive open.
Keep smiling. Keep smiling.
Keep waiting. Keep waiting. It's just taking so long, Diana.
No, I already took the pictures. Huh?
Yeah, she sent it the link. The point is that you need to be here to download to get it.
The thing is, if you're not here,
you won't get the link.
You won't get the link because I'm sending
you won't get a certificate.
No, the certificate, yes, the link to the picture. Okay. It says it sees all pictures. Get link. 1 second, I'm doing it right now as we speak. If you can take a look at the picture and if someone is missing, we can take another one if you guys are patient enough.
It's a pleasure to see you, Carlitos. Long time no see you.
Okay, here it is.
Buddy.
This is the link for the folder where there are 3 pictures that I took. So go check them out and tell me if you see yourself smiling or if we need to take another picture.
My eyes were closed.
There
Your
you go.
eyes were
Yeah,
closed.
we got it.
I'm just kidding. No, you were.
Okay.
Yeah, I see.
Actually, you have access to the link. What you can do is if you have other pictures that you've taken, you can put them there so that we can share them together. That's a good thing about collaborative work. There's a
Great.
picture.
Yes.
Okay, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. See you soon. See you in 2 years. And hopefully it's going to be here on campus. Yes, it'll be on campus. That's for sure. I don't think we're going to have a COVID-20. Okay, so.
Omnicrom.
Omicron, whatever. No, we see you in 2 years. So please have fun. Enjoy your weekend. Thank you.
Some of you will see you in January when we have class.
Yeah, but when I say no, we have class. Go back to the class, to the Zoom class.
No, in semester classes are on campus.
Yes, that'll be a hope. So I want to see most of my students over here. See ya. Take care.
Bye-bye, everyone. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks a lot.
Bye. Bye. Thank you so
guys.
much.
Thank you very much.
Bye, Oscar. Bye, Johnny.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Bye. Bye, Nestor. See you, man. Where are you?
Bye.
Susan, bye.
Bye-bye.
Martha, Hugo. Isis.
Bye.
Darío, bye. Carol, Nicholas, and take care. Marta, bye. Luis, take care. Ruth, Rosa, Sebastian.
You too, teacher. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Bye.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
professor.
Ames,
Bye,
bye.
Diana.
Christy, bye. Luis, Paola. Yes, have a good weekend. Bye, James. Take care.
Diana, great seeing you again, all right?
Yay.
Entonces, Andrea, you're looking great.
Joan, Sebastian, bye.
Dame un abrazo gigante a tu mami, Andrea, por favor.
Yeah.
She's there. She's connected.
¿Dónde está Cristina? No la veo.
Ah, Cristina está por aquí. Cristi, ¿dónde está?
Está mi Cris. Bueno, entonces un abrazo gigante para ti, Cris. Chao, chao, cuídense.
Andreita, you're home today, Andreita.
Janita, ¿tú compartiste el link de la foto?
Yes,
Sí,
I
vale,
did.
momento. Personalmente, Andreita.
It's on the chat. Let me send it again. Hold on.
Please, because my computer crashed when we were in the middle of the picture.
So are you not on the picture?
No,
There
I
you
think
go.
I am on the picture. I am on the picture. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you,
can
guys.
get them
Take
from
care.
there.
All right,
Bye.
thanks. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye. Anita, are you coming?
I don't know yet. I need to get my permission.